What's it really like in the middle of the Great Plains? We are headed for almost to the geographic center of that area in the U.S. And the town that we're going to visit is a small town of about 300,000 people, about the size of Saskatoon or Kitchener, Ontario. The name of the town is called Lincoln, Nebraska. But let's find out just what is in the middle of the Great Plains. We are rolling through the Great Plains of North America, so don't get bored. It is farm country, wheat, and Nebraska is called the Corn State. Don't fall asleep behind the wheel. There's a big sky out there and plenty of flat land. Just keep your eyes open. There is plenty of variety out there. It is not all flat land. There are hills and trees and ponds of water called sloughs. Much of the Great Plains was the bottom of the sea, but it is not all flat. We are in the midst where animals roamed in abundance, where bison lived in the thousands, and where thousands of birds migrate continually between the Arctic and equator. And there is still a wide spectrum of wildlife in the big land. But try not to step on those rattlesnakes. The map here shows the area of the Great Plains in yellow, between the Rocky Mountains on the west and the Mississippi River on the east. The place we're going to in this video is the small city of Lincoln, Nebraska, about the middle part of the 48 states. And near Lincoln is the Missouri River, which starts in Montana and flows down into the Mississippi River on its way to New Orleans. There's another river there called the Platte River. And that river is historically significant because all of the wagon trains, the early pioneers, followed the Platte River Valley. It's one of the few rivers that runs in an east-west direction in North America. They followed it westward to the western part of the U.S.A. These paintings show the famous U.S. historical struggle to get across the Platte River Valley to the mountains, and destinations to Oregon, the Salt Lake Valley, or California. The Platte River runs between Omaha and Lincoln, and these two cities are about a half hour apart on the freeway today. Lincoln is the capital of Nebraska and home of the Huskies college sports teams. Big Red Sports paraphernalia is available in many stores. The University of Nebraska is one of many large U.S. colleges, and this is a new student housing residence. I just had to take a picture of these college girls in a streetcar, kind of a bus. Look at the lower part of this bus, feet turning. This thing moves by pedal power. Oh, to be a college kid again. Surrounded in agriculture, Lincoln is fundamentally still a university town. The University of Nebraska is the typical American university with a great, unparalleled sports program. Just look at the number of kids who apply. The University of Nebraska accepts 80% of those who apply. Compare that with Canadian universities. University of Toronto and McGill accept only 40%, less than half who apply. UBC is at the halfway mark at 53%, and the University of Calgary accepts only 20% of those who apply. Canadians like to dumb down their young people. Now, maybe Canada has higher standards than the American standards in college. But the truth is that high standards is really too often an excuse to keep people out. Contrast that Canadians choose to dumb down their young people. Here is another example. If we look at university enrollment, In the United States, the U.S. encourages its young people to go to college and universities to a greater degree than what occurs in Canada. The U.S. has 19 million students in its universities. Canada has only 1.4 million going to college. Now, it's a smaller country, smaller population. The U.S. is about 10 times a larger population. So if we multiply the 1.44 by 10 to try to bring it up to the American equivalent, we would be Canada would be sending about 14 million to university, compared to the university rate, which ends up with 19 million. Canada likes to dumb down its young people. Well, we just saw another example. The Canadians, Canada is one of the few leading economic countries in the world that has failed to have a lunch program for its youngsters in schools. In contrast to many countries, Canadians, did I mention before, choose to dumb down their young people. Lincoln, Nebraska is an upscale, well-to-do city. Here is a Ferris wheel right in the midst of a shopping center. We're in the downtown Haymarket area, historic and a pleasant place, a gathering place for people, and a safe place right downtown. This big wall sculpture is a landmark downtown. This is the heart of the American Midwest. And this is agricultural, fertile soil country. And the city is loaded with flowers and parks, and it's very well kept and maintained. Here's some more pictures on the streets. Lincoln frequently has artistic competitions, and we saw statues like these. Lincoln, Nebraska has a lot of bicycle trails, and they started quite a few years ago. One of the early projects was to give out prizes and have a competition to make bicycle statues. And you see statues like this all over the city. I liked this statue at the front of the city library. A characteristic of Lincoln is its creative statues. And here is another one. Most trails are paved, all are maintained very well. People ride bikes on the trail, of course, but they also walk it and jog it. These are nice trails around an area called Holmes Lake. And you can always rent bikes. This is a trail right in the downtown area. Lincoln is a university town with lots of bike trails. We are at the bridge that crosses the Platte River, not far from its mouth when the water flows into the Missouri River. But this bridge here, a former railroad bridge, is now a bicycle trail. The Platte River, one of the few rivers that runs east-west. Most rivers in this country and the continent tend to run north-south. When you think of the Mississippi River, the Missouri River, the St. Lawrence River, the Hudson River, they all run north-south. And like I said, the Platte River, Platte, the Platte River, out of the Omaha, Lincoln, Nebraska area, flows from the west. And the early pioneers, the Mormons, and those on the Oregon Trail followed the Platte River. And the Platte River, the Oregon Trail and the historic Mormon Trail both followed one another. Sometimes it was the same trail, but they all followed this Platte River Valley westward. Let's visit one more famous thing before we leave Lincoln, and that is the headquarters of the Arbor Day Foundation. They have planted trees all over the world and made quite a difference. Let's take a look at the Arbor Day Farm just out of Lincoln, Nebraska. The lodge at the farm is called Lead Lodge. We were there in the early spring before the leaves got on the trees, but let's go inside. Nice big timbers, and it was very impressive. Look at the size of that big tree. We bought a coffee cup. You can buy other things there, souvenirs. We ate in the high-class dining area. This was a pea or a asparagus soup. A lot of the stuff was locally grown right here on the farm. Delicious stuff. The first declared Arbor Day tree planting was back in 1872, so this place has been around a long time. This was another building where they sold some of their fruit product in the season. This was the original family home on the farm, all part of the prominent American Morton family, probably best known for its one-time popular lard and salt company. One of the sons of the Morton family here in Lincoln made the family name even more into the public awareness. He went to Death Valley and mined salt there. Now the problem with salt is that it clumped up. Damp weather made it kind of cakey and clumpy. And the housewives had a terrible time using salt with their meals. They mixed in magnesium carbonate, and it made the salt non-caking. It no longer clumped, and the Morton Corporation in effect brought salt to your table. The advertising slogan reached almost every household for several generations. Here it is right here in yellow. When it rains, it pours. When it was damp, or even if it rained, the salt still poured out of the salt shaker. When it rains, it pours, and the Morton Salt Girl became one of the most successful advertising slogans of all time. Arbor Day and tree planting changed this country. This was buffalo, rolling hill country, prairie country at one time. But due to tree planting, this same area that you see here is now a forested canopy. Former grasslands have been converted to an urban forest in Lincoln. The forests cool the environment, capture carbon, and absorb rainfall. Today, Lincoln is a city of big trees like these everywhere. But we are rolling back into prairie country, the flatlands, heading for the Pony Express headquarters and the frontier town of Abilene, Kansas. Jump on board. We are rolling. More places, more sights, more stories. Hit the subscribe button and that'll tell you when we're posting more videos on the internet. If you want to find out more about that Morton story over in Death Valley, click on to my playlist on California. And I made a couple of videos on Death Valley, and one of them tells about the Morton operation over there. In the Great Western Plains playlist, I also made a couple of videos on the Mormons, who were pioneers who traveled up the Platte River to their homeland in the Salt Lake City area. To find these videos, just do what it says on the bottom there. Start with a little @ sign, Google @Don Barnett 5090, hit playlist in the middle of the page, and scroll down to the playlist on the Great Western Plains.